What's going on, guys? Today I made the easiest $50,000 of my entire life. Now, I've done a lot of different real estate projects, from fix and flip properties to burr properties, commercial projects, entitlement projects on land, but this was by far the easiest deal I've ever done. I bought a lot a few months ago and then resold it, and I've never even been to this piece of property. I've never seen it other than through pictures. I paid someone to go out there to look at it. And I'm going to take you through exactly how I found this deal and how I knew where the value was, and then also how I sold it, and so you can replicate the entire process as usual. I'm not going to hide any of the details. I'll show you guys everything. Let's go. I did get a haircut since shooting the intro, but I do want to share this deal with you. Thanksgiving was in the way, but I want to show you how to find this deal, how to understand the value of it, as well as how to sell it. But before we get into that, I want to show you the closing documents of this deal. So every closing has what's called either a HUD statement or an ALTA statement. And what that does, that shows you the total purchase price or sale price of the property, and it shows you how much the buyer is having to bring to closing and how much the seller is getting at closing, as well as the closing costs and the total breakdown. On this property, I actually bought in May of this year for $30,000 was the purchase price, and I had about $1,500 in closing costs, which we can look at right here. You can see I had $700 for a settlement fee, I had $300 for document prep, and $350 for a mail away fee, plus some other small stuff. Typically when I buy properties for all cash, one of the benefits for the seller is I cover all closing costs. Like, what we agree to is what they walk away with, minus any owed property taxes and then the transfer tax. We normally just have the seller pay that. So that's one of the advantages for them. So the total cost of this property was $31,500, and I had every intention of just building 2 duplexes on it, so I'd have a total of 4 units on this property. But while I was waiting for my survey to get out there, I had a large inventory of land, and interest rates kept shooting up, and I was like, you know what? I am going to slim down my portfolio of land. I don't need to build, 24 units, which is what I could have built in total. So I started selling off some of these lots, and this was one of them. And when we go to sell this property, I actually sold this property almost exactly 6 months later, and I sold it for $90,000. Now, what's funny about this deal is when I first bought it, I put it up on, I think, Instagram, and a wholesaler I buy properties from reached out to me and says, hey, I know the exact lot, and I have a buyer who wants to buy it if you want to sell it. And I was like, how much would you want it for? He said, somewhere around like $120,000 to $140,000. I was like, dang, that's $100,000 more than I paid. I was like, you know what? I don't want to sell it. I just want to build, 2 duplexes on it to add to my rental portfolio. But what's funny is, fast forward to today, I ended up selling it for less money. I could have made way more money way faster if I worked for that wholesaler and just sold it. But you live and you learn. So this property sold for $90,000. After all the closing costs and real estate commissions, I ended up netting in my pocket just under $85,000. So if I take what I sold it for, the $84,873.95 plus $1,000 due diligence fee, because I got that, and then I take out what I actually bought it for, which was $31475. That includes the closing costs. This is my true profit on this deal. So I made just over $54,000 profit on top of my $30,000 investment. This property, I didn't use any loan, no private money or anything. On land deals like this that are, well, I consider smaller, it's easier just to do it in cash. It also gives me a lot of flexibility. I could sell it, next month. I could sell it 10 years from now. It doesn't matter. So on this one deal, $30,000, I made $55,000 in profit, which is phenomenal. But this just shows you guys how much money you can make in real estate if you know what to look for. And the beautiful thing about this is I've never even been to this property. I actually, when I got it under contract, I knew it was a good deal. I looked at what's called the GIS system, so I could see like a spatial view. I could see the topography roughly. I could see the flood zone. I checked with the county to make sure it's got utility access. And then I also actually had my landscaper go and take a look at the property. Told him, hey, I'll pay you $50 if you go check out this property in Gastonia and take pictures from like every corner. Just get me as many good pictures as you can. and I sent him like a screenshot of Google Maps with like the rough lot lines traced out that I got. So it's definitely a cheap and easy way to do it, but it gave me a good idea of what the property looks like. I actually used those pictures to sell the property, you know, 4, 5, 6 months later after that. So this one deal made me $55,000. I've never been to it. I never want to go to it. So it's a phenomenal deal. I probably buy 4 or 5 properties a month from wholesalers where I don't have to do any marketing. The deals get sent to me via text or email or a phone call, sometimes on Facebook Messenger of all places or Instagram. But that's a great source of leads, but a lot of times the deal is thinner with wholesalers. I also do a decent amount of direct-to-seller marketing in-house. And to do direct-to-seller marketing, you need to figure out what type of properties, or you need to get a list of properties you want to go after and market towards. So there's 3 main ways you can get that list of properties. You can go directly to the county, which is probably one of the more difficult ways, but it is also the cheapest way and the most accurate because you're getting info directly from the source. The second way is you can go through a company called ListSource. ListSource.com. It's pretty cheap and easy to use. I'm sure there's a ton of videos on YouTube about it. If you guys want, I can make a video doing it. I started out doing ListSource. And the third way you can find and create this list of properties to market to is to go to a company called PropStream.com. I'll put a link in the description that's got like a free trial you guys can do. PropStream is awesome. That's the one that I use the most, and it's also the most friendly for beginners. If you don't have MLS access, like if you're not a realtor and you don't have access to like realtor sales and data, it's really good because it actually pulls that information from the MLS and it pulls information from county data and property records, so it gets some of the best information on sale data. And the reason that's helpful is when you're looking at a property, you can find what comparable sales are going for and be able to put together an accurate offer, whether you're gonna fix and flip the house, whether you're gonna buy it and immediately sell it, or whether you're gonna buy it and rent it and you need to get a refi, or in this case, whether you're buying a piece of land and you wanna know what other pieces of land are selling for. So I'm gonna show you guys how I did this on PropStream. That's actually the list provider I used on this exact deal. Let's get into it. So PropStream is a really awesome tool to be able to find properties, pull lists, and run comps. I'm gonna show you, I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina, but I'm gonna show you Atlanta. I just put in the county. You can search by the city, you can search by zip code, you can search county-wide, and you can create a list. I'm gonna show you my exact criteria for what I market to. So on my filter list, I put it on vacant land, and then I go to property characteristics, and I actually make the lot size 2,500 square feet to 43,000, which is 1 acre. The reason I want that size of lots to market to is I want lots that are what's considered infill lots. There's a lot less red tape for the builder and developer, so they typically are willing to close on it a lot faster. If you buy a big tract of land, you can make a lot of money, but it takes a lot more time for a developer and builder to go through the entitlement process and do their due diligence. So I prefer these smaller lots that are just quicker sales and quicker transactions. So you have a smaller lot. The second thing we want to do is we want to change years of ownership. I only want to market the properties that have been owned for at least 5 years. And what's really important is I take out, normally this is set to all, I take it out so I only want to market to individuals that own the land. I don't want to market to a corporation. I don't want to market to like an LLC or a trust, because trusts are really hard to track down. So I just keep it easy and do individual. And then the last thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make sure it is not for sale on the market currently. Because if it is, we can just go to Zillow or Realtor.com and, you know, pay a high price for the property. But that's not what we're doing here. So now you got a list of just at 4,000 properties that fit your criteria. So you can just click this and click add. You can just add it to the Atlanta, or you can create a new list. I already created an Atlanta list for you guys. If you want the Atlanta vacant infill lots list, comment below and I will send it to you, or I'll just put it in the video description and you can get it completely for free. So once you have your list of properties, you need to market to these sellers. Now there's a couple ways to market. You can do direct mail, which is sending a postcard or a letter or an offer directly to the seller's home address. Another way you can do it is by doing something called cold calling, or you can SMS, you can like text them, or you can leave them voicemails in an automated way called RVMs. Or last, you can do door knocking. Like you can literally go knock on the door and say, hey, I want to see if you are interested in selling that property you own on the other side of town. I personally really like direct mail. It is expensive. It is like 60 cents a letter that I send. But the advantage of doing something like that is the calls that I get, most of them are from people who are actually interested in selling, or at least interested in getting an offer. I'm not wasting my time with people who are just like being upset or whatever. It's just leads that generally want to sell or are open to selling. So I find it more worthwhile for my time to just focus on those leads, pay a premium to get them, but just focus on those leads. The other thing is there are less people doing direct mail than there were a few years ago, because these other methods like cold calling or texting or RVMs became really cheap to do. So there's a lot of people calling and texting sellers. I still do some of that stuff, but not as much as other people. I know some people are doing like 5, 10,000, 20,000 text messages a day to different sellers, which is like hard to fathom. Typically when you're texting, you probably get a 20% response rate. So if you send 10,000 messages a day, you're getting 2,000 responses, which is nuts. When I do direct mail, I send out, let's say, 5,000 postcards in a month. I probably get 30 to 50 phone calls off of that. Now, I have a small team. I would much prefer handling 30 or 50 conversations that are a warmer conversation with a generally higher quality lead than dealing with 2,000 text messages a day. Like that just seems nuts to me. But if you want to build a big team, you have to have a lot of different ways to market properties. I like direct mail because it's easy and it's scalable. If I wanted to, I could go from 5,000 letters a month to 50,000 letters a month and get more phone calls and have, an acquisitions person and all that. But on this one deal, we sent this letter out in March. They called us a few weeks later, so they want to sell the property. There's actually a house on it that burned down, and they want to sell it, and they threw out the number of $30,000. Now, when I heard $30,000 for this lot in particular, I'm like, man, I don't know if I can do that, because I know what lots are going for, and lots are going for somewhere between $25,000 to maybe $40,000 for a buildable lot. But what made this one lot in particular so valuable is because of the zoning that it already had. It wasn't zoned for residential, it was actually zoned for multifamily, meaning that it was permitted by right to build a multifamily structure, and the number of units or size of that structure was based on how big the land was. This one in particular, after doing a little more research, you type in your county, like Fulton County UDO zoning, and you can see what is allowed under each zoning classification. And this one is allowed to build 4 units permitted by right. What that means is you don't have to get permission or go in front of the council and their neighbors and get permission to build the 4 unit. You're allowed to just submit your plans and build the 4 unit, which is great. Developers love that. So when I saw that it was zoned for multifamily, I knew immediately that, hey, this is probably worth well over $30,000. If you're willing to pay $25,000 a unit for a piece of land, and it fits 4, this means this property is probably worth $100,000. So when she said 30, I did my research. I saw the real value in the property. It was not in building a house again. It was actually in building a multifamily project. I knew I needed to jump on it. So I sent her the contract over e-signature. We signed it and then started the title search process. I closed on this property without ever actually seeing it. I confirmed with the city before closing that it has access to city sewer and city water, which is really important. If you have city utility access, the property is worth a lot more than if you have to do a septic and well, because if you need to do a septic tank, you have to make sure the soil is good and you can actually put one in there. Otherwise, you might buy a piece of land that can't ever have a house there, or it needs a $80,000 special septic system. And that's why this was such a great deal. So I bought the property for $30,000. I saw the value was really in the multifamily zoning. It had the city utility access I needed, and it was relatively flat. So I bought this property for cash, but if you don't have cash, you could still make a ton of money on this deal. In fact, you would have probably made more money on this deal than what I did. So I bought the property in cash, waited 6 months, and 6 months, during that 6 months, buyer demand and builder demand came to a stop, which means there's less people looking for properties to build on because of interest rates. If you were to put the property in contract for 30 grand, it's probably worth $100,000 to $140,000. You could have done what's called wholesale. You could have wholesaled the property to a builder where you have it under contract at $90,000. You find someone else willing to pay $100,000 and close quickly, and then at closing, the seller gets their $30,000. The buyer brings in their 100 and you get the difference of $70,000. That's more profit than I made with way less risk. So in this deal, there's a few key lessons to learn. The first thing is it's really valuable to understand highest and best use of land through zoning and what's permitted by right versus what isn't. You also need to understand what the values of the properties are, and you can use something like PropStream to look at other sales, or you can talk to builders who are actually buying land and building it, figure out what they're paying, what they're looking for, how much less do you have to get the property if it's fully treed versus if it's cleared, so that you know when you're negotiating with sellers what the real price is that you could go and resell it for in the future if that's the strategy you want to do. The third way you can do that is to talk to other wholesalers who are wholesaling a lot of land to builders and see what they're doing and see if you can partner up and see if you can find the deal and they can help you sell the deal and move it to a builder. Or you can buy the land and build on it, which is more complicated, but definitely something that can be worthwhile in a normal market. In this market, it's just hard to predict where things are gonna be, so it's a little riskier. So I personally keep it on the smaller scale. I like to just do a couple deals a month where I'm buying and selling. Most of the stuff I want to do is just long-term building wealth and building cash flow. But I've got buddies in this who all they do is wholesale land in one market, and they're making over $1 million a year in wholesale fees, which is just absolutely mind-blowing that you can sell dirt and never actually buy the property. You're just putting it under contract, then selling your equitable rights to the property, and you can make $1 million a year. That is truly mind-blowing. And what's crazier than that is if he were to buy the property himself and build on it, there's probably another couple $1 million of equity that he's missing out on by selling it to a builder, because the builder's only gonna buy it if there's upside. So he's leaving a lot of meat on that deal to be able to sell those properties. If you guys like this video, subscribe, comment below, share it with a friend. It'd mean the world to me. I want to share with everyone the power of real estate and how much money you can make in it. It is truly mind-blowing and something I wish I discovered a long time ago. If I'd been in real estate in my late teens, I would be way farther ahead than where I am now. I only started 3.5 years ago, and it is truly mind-blowing how far you can get in real estate. And if you want to see any content on a specific subject, comment it below and I'll make a video on it. It's really hard to do one super long video that covers everything in depth. I could do 10 videos just on direct mail, or just on cold calling, or just on list generation or negotiation. So let me know what you want to see videos on and what would be most helpful. And until next time, peace.